ain't got no clout, bro. You ain't got no clout. They don't know you out here. They don't know you. So when I'm trying to look for you, they can't find you. I gotta play the Birds remix, even though I ain't gonna be able to hear it. Let's play Word of Mouth, Bird. Damn, it's fly, dude. Yeah, y'all, we yapped out today. But hey, I'm gonna get back on. I'm gonna get a new computer. I'm gonna figure out a way to buy a new computer tomorrow. Y'all tap in with me. Let me see if anybody out there saying anything before I just yap off like this. I got about 45 minutes left of free time. All right, y'all. So it's Thanksgiving. Everybody's sitting here eating with their family and stuff. I don't like. What are y'all celebrating after year after year after year after year after year after year? Can y'all please tell me what y'all celebrate? So I want to watch a couple of these videos. I'm gonna show y'all. I'm gonna get the dog first, and then I'm gonna watch a couple of these videos and get y'all opinion on this, because this is basically what y'all celebrating year after year after year after year after year after year. So. Oh, I'm muted. Oh, bro. Oh, I was muted. All right. So look, I'm back. My stuff is muted. But look, what are y'all celebrating? Let me get this dog. But I'm gonna play this video. I'm gonna show some stuff of what y'all celebrate.
Thanksgiving originally celebrated the 1637 massacre of the Pequot tribe. English and Dutch pilgrims surrounded and shot the Pequot natives. Women and children who huddled inside the longhouse were burnt alive. The rotting flesh could be smelled a mile away. John Winthrop, the governor of the Massachusetts Bay Colony, declared a day of Thanksgiving after the slaughter. The remaining women and children were sold into slavery while the rest were murdered. Following a successful raid against the Pequot, the churches announced a second day of Thanksgiving to celebrate victory over the Indian savages. Next Thanksgiving, when you gather with your loved ones to thank God for all your blessings, think about the thousands of natives that were murdered on these national holidays. Truth is,
So
Thanksgiving originally
you can look, I'm gonna switch the screen because you can, wait a minute. You can look at this man, and this is, all right, so they lying. I can look at this man and tell he's from like Mexico or something. Bro, bro, this is, oh, wait a minute. Let me fix my screen. We're gonna see this different. Because I could tell where they lied. I could tell. Hold on. All these so-called Indians. They took our land. But look, so look, y'all. Let's watch some of this stuff, bro. Dark Truth. All right, so Nick Cannon. All right, hypocrisy.
Thanksgiving, as we know, is a holiday once you're in school that we teach to our kids that, you know, the pilgrims and the Indians come together and they share a feast.
Friendship.
And it's all about family and sharing.
Yes.
When ultimately, from my studies, and I'm pretty sure you can kind of expound on this even more, is that really that feast was ultimately a celebration for a massacre of over 700 Native Americans. And then once Abraham Lincoln, actually years later, then sanctioned it a holiday and kind of tried to clean it up a little bit. But the actual, you know, feast that the pilgrims were having during that time wasn't a celebration of friendliness or giving at all. It was really like, hey, they finally got some food because they had been starving. And they killed the godless Indians, which they called it. So I would love to just, you know, kind of pick your brain on that and just say, why is it that we celebrate Thanksgiving, and why haven't we heard the truth about Thanksgiving?
Well, I think you just laid it out. If you tell the truth, then you got to talk about an act of genocide, bro.
Right.
Yeah, that first Plymouth colony, in the early 17th century. You know, we know that they landed here in 1620.
Right.
Or as Malcolm said, Plymouth Rock landed on us.
Yeah, we didn't land on Plymouth Rock.
That's right. Plymouth Rock landed on us, brother.
Yeah.
And our Native American, the Wampanoag people in that region,
Right.
Massachusetts, and they only came here, these white folks, with about 100 so-called colonists.
Wow.
102. By the time they got through that first winter, they were celebrating the fact that they had survived, but only about half of them survived.
Wow.
Yeah, and we only a little over 50.
Wow.
So they had a little harvest, but before they had that harvest, they were dying from disease and starvation.
Right.
There are only 2 accounts that survived that give any testimony as to who was there at that first Thanksgiving, and both of them written from the white side.
Right.
We know now, looking at some of the records of trials, for example, that some of those folks weren't just eating vegetables and meat.
Right.
Well, they were eating meat, but some of the meat included
human meat.
Human meat, brother. Because when you starving and somebody died, you looking at them like.
All right, so look. This is it's like, bro, you sitting here having conversations, Nick Cannon, like that, all intellectual, Mr. Know It, you know it all, right? You know it, right? You just told us something in that video, 2 minutes, that's deep. I go and look at this video right here. I go and wake up today to you, Mr. Thanksgiving man. That's all you talking about today is Thanksgiving, Mr. Nick Cannon. How you know all this stuff right then, but now you Thanksgiving man? I don't get it. I don't get your narrative on this one, bro. I don't get your narrative on this one, bro. Look at this.
I made you lunch. Are you hungry?
When the female species has prepared you a meal, and
not that. It was one I just seen Thanksgiving. All right, never mind. You just keep showing your girl. That's a girl. All right, just keep. They calling to tell you free now that you don't have to eat that ass anymore. I hear my ancestors. All right, good. My bad. I might be off. This one right here, when dinner is actually ready on time. Just like, like, bro, you know what you know. You should be fighting against it. Stop letting it just go. You posted so much.
I hope so.
It's don't post at all. Why even post?
No.
Why even post?
I
Bro.
I hope so.
Why even post around this time? That wasn't even. It was some, bro. Walking into things. Bro. Why even post? Word of mouth said he loves Thanksgiving. Of course you love Thanksgiving. Of course. Of course you do. Of course. That one favorite cousin. Tag your one favorite cousin. Bro, you know what you know, Nick Cannon. I just heard what you said. This the kind of stuff that make me mad, bro. When people know what they know and they act blind to it. One post about chillings ain't gonna do it. You just falling part of the trap, bro. Happy Thanksgiving. What? Oh. Happy Thanksgiving. Nick Cannon, you know what you know. You cannot unknow what you know. You can't unknow what you know. So now, if I see you celebrating it, I look at you as one, a hypocrite. I look at you, two, as in okay with the genocide and the stuff that happened. Three, bro, that's crazy, bro. All right, let me watch a couple more of this video. Let me see if you okay with it, bro. Because you can't talk this freedom, peace, power, people, and then go and celebrate it. 'Cause you celebrating it now. Happy Thanksgiving. Happy Thanksgiving. I know when people text me happy Thanksgiving, I'll text only one person texts me happy, my boy Manny. Manny's happy Thanksgiving, but he invited me give me no plate. Bro, I need a plate. Nah, I'm just playing. I don't want nothing to eat. I'm good. I ain't even eat today. I ain't even eat, bro. In solidarity with my people, I ain't even eat today. So if you're a native, you gotta stand up on today. You can't just let everything just fly under the water and agree with it all. Like, it's disgusting if you ask me, bro. It's disgusting. I don't like it. I don't like it. All right, what media thing was I playing on at first? All right. It's disgusting. What y'all think about on Rumble? All right, what's up, Rumble? So on Rumble, what y'all think about Thanksgiving, bro? Because it's over then. I'll be thankful, be thankful, be thankful, be thankful. Yeah, I'm thankful, but bro, thankful for what? I'm thankful. Yeah, I'm thankful, but for what?
Like, well, you're not using your body anymore, so maybe I just need to eat you.
So at the first Thanksgiving, it wasn't no turkey.
Well, they were giving thanks that they didn't have to eat each other anymore.
Right.
Although in their defense, in a little bit, some of them were tried for that because cannibalism was still something that they didn't want to do.
Wow.
But at some point, you have to survive.
Right.
You know, but the Native Americans, on the other hand, who apparently attended the first Thanksgiving, the Native Americans who may have been as much as 90 folks who were there,
right?
And there's no clear account as to why they were there,
right?
They had plenty of food,
right?
Cranberries, fish. They had done
from
all
the
that.
land. It was their land.
It was their land. In fact, they did help some of those Europeans survive.
Right.
Now, looking back 500 some years later, that may have been a bad decision,
right?
But they did help them, and they were celebrating. It wasn't friendship. Now there were some Africans, there were some Native Americans.
Right.
There was one dude named Squanto, for example,
right,
who ended up being enslaved.
Wow.
That's how he learned English.
Wow.
So he became a translator.
Wow.
Because he had been pressed into service by these Europeans, who, as you said, looked at these Native Americans as they were godless.
Right.
So they gave thanks to their God for having taken land from people who didn't even see land that way.
Right.
Because they were like,
what, they didn't even see it as there. This is like land is land.
Exactly.
They truly believe this land is our land. This land is your land.
Your land, nature.
Right.
In fact, they didn't even farm the way we think about farming.
Right.
When you look at the European style, they clear out the land, then they make rows of
things.
Right.
The Native Americans like
ever.
Right.
You grow food in conversation with other food.
Wow.
So the squash, the pumpkins, the greens,
all grew together.
It all grew together, and that way you get to replenish the land because what's taken from one gives to the other, and you don't have to keep clearing out land to plant new crops. You don't plant single crops.
Right.
So even the technology of Thanksgiving gives us this notion that somehow the Europeans were superior.
Right.
Their God was better, their science was better. But no, they had starved, they had disease, and about half of them had died.
Right.
And they celebrated making it through their first winter, and the Native Americans showed up to be like, well, I guess y'all made it. Meanwhile, they plotting on the Native Americans.
Man, and that's again, like even going back to what we discussed about Columbus Day and you know that it should be shifted to Indigenous Peoples Day. But even again, this shows the kind hand and the generosity of the natives to it, even though it was a massacre that that was all not that was being set up, and therefore they were all thinking of the Europeans were thinking to rob them the entire time.
That's right.
But these kind people were still willing to give their land, give their food, and share with them. And we almost, when we celebrate Thanksgiving, we almost, again, we see it from the European perspective as I'm giving you something and you're giving me something, when ultimately the natives were saving the Europeans. And even that idea, like that should be something that we should embrace and celebrate. And even as, you know, if we all gonna sit down and have our smoked turkey and chitlins and ham and all of that stuff, and we've turned it more into a cultural day about family.
Yes.
Which I can embrace. I mean, anytime we can get down and build with our generations and our family is important. But I think, again, that truth needs to come to the forefront of why these holidays were created and even the purpose. And like I said, even so much so that I felt like Lincoln used it as propaganda.
Oh, you know he did.
To, again, bring people closer together. But at the idea to say, look at what the elite have set up.
That's exactly right.
Right.
Well, 1863, when we see it become part of the formal American calendar, you know, the Civil War is still going on.
Right.
Part of it is trying to create a national identity.
Right.
How do you build? And that's what holidays
That
really
everyone
are.
can embrace.
That's exactly
that
right.
patriotism.
That's exactly right. Holidays are about building a national identity, a patriotism, a love of country.
A myth that everyone can follow.
Straight myth, brother. This is a guy who signs an Emancipation Proclamation, and in the same breath, then signs the death warrant on 38 Lakota Sioux in Minnesota, the biggest killing of people by approved by a president, a guy named Little Crow, who was leading a revolt against the United States Army up in Minnesota, Fort Snelling, same place they had Dred Scott and Harriet Scott enslaved. Yeah,
and
man.
Lincoln signed that.
Lincoln signed a death warrant the same time he signed the Emancipation Proclamation. I mean, this is about taking their land from the Native Americans. So we look, Abraham Lincoln signed Thanksgiving into law. Yeah, he was giving thanks for taking land from Native Americans that he was responsible for dispossessing them of the land.
Wow.
And then, of course, it takes, when do we see it become on our calendar in November?
Right.
1941.
Oh, wow.
What's going on in 1941? World War II.
Yeah.
You need that national identity, that patriotism. Here's the thing: a lot of people don't know about Thanksgiving. Now, you know, you in and out of New York all the time. I was loving the man on the street. Talking about, you gotta be able to vote like you get
right there.
That was genius, brother.
Thank you.
Genius. But you know, New York City, immigrants are coming. These white immigrants, they don't know they're white till they get to the United States.
Right.
Like we were talking about, they trying to avoid last place. So I'm from Hungary, or I'm from Germany, or I'm coming. So they come, they're getting jobs wherever they can.
Right.
A lot of these immigrants worked in the garment district in New York.
Right.
A lot of them,
Schmata business.
exactly. A lot of them end up working for R.H. Macy. R.H. Macy is, you know, of course, the department store guy, right? Now, they don't celebrate Thanksgiving. They don't know nothing about that.
Right.
So when it comes time for that time, where are they going to go? So they get in this national spirit. What do? They start wearing their national dress. They bring their national dishes. They bring them to the store. They bring them around and they exchange with each other because they're going to get in the mirror. Macy's people are watching this and they say, this is very interesting. So then
we could capitalize off of this.
And so what do? They start doing a little march around the block to show off their clothes.
Right.
And then people start watching. Macy's like, this is interesting. Years later, we now have the Macy's
Day Parade.
And in that Macy's Parade, you know, I'm sure you've been. I don't know if you're taking your kids yet.
Yeah. I've hosted it before.
Oh, that's right. Look, here's the thing. This is why I go to the Macy's Parade. I try to go if I'm on the East Coast because I like to be there and I like to watch it on TV while I'm watching it in real life.
Right.
What you see is all these people that bake these cookies and all these sales to get their band to the Macy's Parade.
Right.
They don't get on TV. Not all of them.
Nah.
They walk by. But I guess what gets on TV? Every float. Why? Because I'm watching the children point to the floats and say, that's so-and-so, that's so-and-so. Every one of them floats is something to buy.
Yeah.
I'm watching the parents looking too, and they know some of the people, but then some of them they don't.
Right.
Who's the last act in the Macy's Parade? Santa Claus.
Always.
And what is Santa Claus? He's waving bye. No, not B-Y-E. B-Y. Bye. Because what you just saw
was a commercial.
And it started with R.H. Macy looking at these immigrants who knew nothing about Thanksgiving, who came to try to be part of the American ritual. And he's sitting there thinking, how can I make a profit off of this little celebration? It's really fascinating.
Fascinating.
Yeah. 1941, they make it official.
Wow.
Yeah.
And there we have it. We celebrate. So keep all that in mind when you eating your fried turkey and your chitlins and your canned cranberries.
Yeah. And then going back and giving all your money back to the store on Black Thursday and Cyber Monday and all that.
The next day you're gonna be shopping. They in your pocket.
That night, midnight.
Yeah. It's going down.
Oh shit,
well, Doc, I appreciate this again, dropping that wisdom about Thanksgiving. I know this is gonna touch a lot.
Brother, class is no
Thanksgiving, as we know, is a holiday once you're in school that we teach to our kids that, you know, the Pilgrims and the Indians come together and they share a feast.
Friendship.
And it's all about family and sharing.
Yes. When
ultimately, from my studies, and I'm pretty sure you can kind of expound on this even more, is that really that feast was ultimately a celebration for a massacre of over 700 Native Americans. And then once Abraham Lincoln, actually years later, then sanctioned it a holiday and kind of tried to clean it up a little bit. But the actual, feast that the pilgrims were having during that time wasn't a celebration of friendliness or giving at all. It was really like, hey, they finally got some food
Right.
because they had been starving.
That's right.
And they killed the godless Indians, which they called it. So I would love to just, kind of pick your brain on that and just say, why is it that we celebrate Thanksgiving, and why haven't we heard the truth about Thanksgiving?
Well, I think you just laid it out. If you tell the truth, then you got to talk about an act of genocide, bro.
Right.
Yeah, that first Plymouth colony in the early 17th century.
All right,
we know that they landed here in 1620.
Right.
Or as Malcolm said, Plymouth Rock landed on us.
Yeah, we didn't land on
No, we
Plymouth
landed-
Rock.
That's right. Plymouth Rock landed on us, brother.
Yeah.
And our Native American, the Wampanoag.
Add this Instagram to my. Bro, this is crazy. I was gonna see some of these comments, bro. Mic sound bad. Very sad. It's amazing when white people save my land. Everybody on it though. It's a lot of people running to it. All these are 6 hours ago.
The Pequot people were burned alive in the middle of their sleep at night in 1637. Mass Bay Colony, Plymouth Colony.
Thanksgiving,
Oh,
as we know, is
haircut?
The Pequot people were burned alive in the middle of their sleep at night in 1637. Mass Bay Colony, Plymouth Colony, Providence Plantation, Mystic Seaport, all English colonies banded together to burn women and children while they slept in a village at night. They barricaded the exit. They did not allow anyone to leave. They wanted them to burn. They were proud that they burned. This country was proud to write. We could smell their burning, rotting flesh for over a mile away. It's written, folks. Please read it on your own. I am not making this up. Stephen King can't make this up. He was so proud, the town of Norwich, Connecticut, had a statue honoring this man up until roughly a decade ago. John Mason, the man who murdered over 700 people. When anyone, the few people who were able to survive that Holocaust, they were rounded up. They were sold as slaves. Before they were sold, they were marched all the way from Connecticut to Mass Bay Colony, present-day Boston. They were placed on trial. They were declared to be sold as slaves. But before they sent them on that slave ship, they had to humiliate them some more. And they read a declaration that those people shall not ever, once again, even utter the word Pequot. They will no longer be able to call themselves a Pequot. I am proud to say, I'm a Mashantucket Pequot. This is the history, folks. Because that particular day, that particular incident is when this country declared its second religious day of Thanksgiving. This is what we're celebrating, folks.
He says something key right there. Y'all got to pay attention into what they really say. He said, on this day, is when they declared their second day of Thanksgiving. I wonder why he said that. And I just don't trust the light-skinned natives. That light skin like this, it's like, I think,
Thanksgiving.
I just think they,
I'm Donna, and I'm here with.
I don't know. It's something about it that they're like, there might be Mexican, there might be a Mexican mix or something, but it's like, I don't know, bro. I don't know. Yeah, it's a lot to it, man. He said, I just don't, it's something to it, bro. I just don't know.
I'm Donna, and
Why are they allowed to keep all their religion, everything, but we got transferred onto this hood demon that they make us out to be? I look at this picture, he's dark. Let's see.
When you're celebrating Thanksgiving, do you know what Thanksgiving really is symbolic of? Nigga.
You got that music behind that. I can't play that.
I know I'm going to get a lot of flack for this, but I want to wish you a happy Thanksgiving, although I don't buy into Thanksgiving whatsoever. You know, I am thankful for everything in my life, but I do that every day. I am grateful every single day. I don't wait until the third Thursday in November to celebrate being thankful. Okay, I'm thankful each and every single day. So that's why I really don't participate in Thanksgiving. And why turkey? Why turkey? It's traditional. Yeah, well, not necessarily my favorite. I'd prefer a tri-tip or a kick-ass, sirloin. Like for Christmas, dude, I'd take a freaking kick-ass sirloin strip over a freaking piece of ham.
Someone shut that guy up. Let's see this black man with the white beard.
Straight facts, no chaser.
Let's give it to me.
I just want to say happy Thanksgiving to all you people out there. I've had a great year. Love y'all.
Shut up. Shut up. Cloud chasing. Shut up. What are you talking about? What are you talking about?
In 1637, near present-day Groton, Connecticut, over 700 men, women, and children of the Pequot tribe had gathered for their annual Green Corn Festival, which is our Thanksgiving celebration. In the pre-drawn hours, the sleeping Indians were surrounded by English and Dutch mercenaries who ordered them to come outside. Those who came out were shot or clubbed to death, while the terrified women and children who huddled inside the long house were burned alive. You see that? So this is where Thanksgiving stems from. This is where it stems from, because when this happened, after they conquered some of our people, they had celebrations in honor of it. This is where it all came from. It says the next day, the governor of the Massachusetts Bay Colony declared a day of Thanksgiving because 700 unarmed men, women, and children had been murdered.
This is one of the only paintings of a Pequot Indian.
Y'all see that? Oh, they tried to slide that in there. Oh, I see what he did. That is one of the only paintings of a Pequot Indian. He looked black. His hair receding like mine. That looked like me. He looked black, bro. They can't tell me he ain't black, bro. Pequot. How you say it? Pequot. Peacock. Peacock Indian. Why is it? Peacock Indian. All right. Yeah, that's cool. That's cool. All right. That's what we know. We want Neil True. That's a good little channel. Straight to the facts, no chaser for real. Oh, that dude made me mad telling me about his year. Never been so disgusted in my life.
Following the arrival of Christopher Columbus on the shores of America in 1492, a steady stream of white European families traveled across the Atlantic Ocean to settle in this new territory. At first, they were ill-equipped to handle the harsh realities of its wilderness and climate. But indigenous tribes fed them and taught them how to grow corn and other crops to live on the land. Then, everything took a turn for the worse, because it was not a peaceful coexistence between Native American tribes and white colonial settlers. White European settlers murdered and stole from the indigenous communities who had been thriving on this land for thousands of years and multiple generations. These colonial settlers destroyed indigenous cultures by eradicating them, and even sold captive tribal members off to slavery. Five-term governor of Plymouth Colony, William Bradford, described Native Americans as savage people who are cruel, barbarous, and most treacherous. At every level, the
Bro,
settlers were in
playing that beat. You're gonna get me kicked off YouTube, Mr. Christian King. Get to the point. What you trying to say? See what this dude is saying.
The truth about Thanksgiving. We all know the story.
All these beats in the background. All right, I'm about done with TikTok, bro. They want to make a damn soliloquy.
Well, Thanksgiving is actually a slap in the face holiday, I like to call it. Thanksgiving is actually the white man's way of showboating how he stole the land from the Indians. Thanksgiving. Thanks for giving us this land. The Indians taught you how to eat, how to survive, how to clothe yourselves in the harsh winter times, educated the Caucasian race on everything they know about being over here in this land today. What did the Caucasian do? They steal the land and then declare a holiday called Thanksgiving. Thanksgiving. Thanks for giving us this goddamn land. Well, Thanksgiving is actually a slap in the face holiday, I like to call it. Thanksgiving is actually the white man's way of showboating how he stole the land from the Indians. Thanksgiving. Thanks for giving us this land.
What's his name? Awaken Toby's. No, reply to Awaken Toby's. That's Robert Woke. That's not his video. That's somebody else. Who is that? Who is that? Know that person. Don't know who it is though. Yeah, man, this is crazy, bro. Everybody just cool with it. Everybody just cool with it. Let's see. Watch this video. Okay.
Thanksgiving and how it's not the image ingrained in tradition. At the start of the 17th century, southern New England was home to a variety of busy communities within several confederations. These were the people of the first light, and they called their home the Dawnland. Political leaders were known as sachems and had been trading with Europeans for over 100 years before the Pilgrims. Relations soured only after deceitful Europeans kidnapped locals to sell as slaves. Permanent European settlement was impossible due to the already high population of native occupants. But in 1616, tradesmen introduced a disease to the Dawnland, whose inhabitants died in droves from a lack of immunity. In 3 years, up to 90% were wiped out in several confederations, including the Wampanoag. Their head sachem, Massasoit, was aware of how close they were to being subjugated by their unafflicted enemy, the Narragansett. He was determined to save his people.
I do not like the background music. Stop playing background music. I can't find no background music. See, somebody uploaded something.
concept of Thanksgiving developed in the colonies of New England, its roots can be traced both to Native Americans as well as back to the other side of the Atlantic. In fact, people have been celebrating the harvest for millennia, and our Thanksgiving meal is just a modern incarnation reflecting these ancient celebrations of autumn abundance. As an annual celebration of the harvest and its bounty, Thanksgiving falls under a category of festivals that spans cultures, continents, and millennia. In ancient times, the Egyptians, Greeks, and Romans feasted and paid tribute to their gods after the fall harvest. Thanksgiving also bears a resemblance to the ancient Jewish harvest festival of Sukkot. As you may know, most of our modern holidays like Christmas and Easter are a combination of pagan and Christian traditions. Thanksgiving, on the other hand, doesn't have as much of a Christian influence. While Thanksgiving is not tied to any specific religion, its traditions are quite similar to a number of ancient pagan harvest festivals. For example, in ancient Rome, they celebrated the holiday of Cerilia, which honored the harvest goddess of grain called Ceres. There are around 100 different harvest gods and goddesses from Greek and Roman culture, so it's clear that celebrating the harvest season was a key feature of their spiritual beliefs. Harvest celebrations were also vitally important during Celtic and Anglo-Saxon pagan times.
You pay attention to the paintings in them, bro. All these videos, everything they depict is of a certain color, bro.
In Britain, these traditions evolved into a holiday called Harvest Home. Historically, the date of Harvest Home differed each year as it was celebrated when all the autumn crops were finally harvested. The final cartload of food was paraded through the town, and a big harvest supper was celebrated among the villagers. Apparently, these harvest suppers started to get a bit out of hand, and by 1867 were described as unrestrained riot and excess. In addition to Harvest Home, a separate religious holiday called the Days of Thanksgivings was practiced in the Church of England, in which people set aside one religious day of their choosing to give thanks to God. We get the name Thanksgiving from this Christian tradition, while the feasting commonly associated with Thanksgiving largely derives from the Harvest Home celebrations. For Europeans, largely misleading and helps to obscure the many atrocities the colonists committed upon the Native Americans, the spirits and deities that aided in the bountiful harvest. For as long as anyone can remember, the story of the first Thanksgiving has been revered in America as a peaceful, celebratory meal between the Pilgrims and the Native Americans in 1621, a year after the Pilgrims disembarked from the Mayflower. But like most historical events that hold unsavory truths, the feast is often portrayed inaccurately, and the mythical story of the first Thanksgiving obscures the painful truths of how the relationship between the English settlers and the indigenous people actually began. While there was a shared feast between the two groups, it's not known for sure why they came together or if the Native Americans.
Oh shit, what if they came together to take the country from us? What if we was in control of the country and they came together to take it from us? They were tired of living in huts. We missing that key fact. Oh shit. Because when you go to Chicago and shit, around this time it's already a city. It's already still a type of city. So, bro, that's crazy. Well, hey, if y'all on Instagram, bro, y'all go check out my Rumble channel. I'm gone. It's tight though. It's tight. I can do Instagram live like that. But yeah, bro, that's crazy, bro. What if something happened where they they banded together with the young people because they was just here living on the outskirts and hiding because there's probably outs because they were lighter. There's no dark people here. Who is these people on the ground? Well, I don't trust nothing.
Were even properly invited, and they probably didn't eat turkey, despite the popular notion that it was on the table. More significantly, the mythical story of the first Thanksgiving whitewashes the colonial violence against the Native Americans, which occurred countless times despite this famous gathering. The commonly told story about the first Thanksgiving paints a glorious feast that established a peaceful coexistence between the Pilgrims and the Native Americans. After the Pilgrims arrived in modern-day Massachusetts in 1620, it's believed that they received help from members of the Wampanoag tribe. With assistance from the native people, the Pilgrims were able to adjust to a new environment. They were also able to have a successful fall harvest, which they marked with an elaborate celebration with the Wampanoag tribe. The festivities took place over 3 days, sometime between late September and mid-November in 1621. This gathering would later become known as America's first Thanksgiving. However, the concept of a first Thanksgiving itself remains questionable, and Thanksgiving did not become an annual holiday right away. Historians believe that George Washington was the first to declare a national day of Thanksgiving in 1789, but this didn't mean that all Americans knew about this first celebration. In fact, the first Thanksgiving wasn't even called the first Thanksgiving until the 1830s, and the holiday wasn't made official until 1863 when President Abraham Lincoln declared it as such. The surprising insignificance of the first Thanksgiving is reflected by how few historical accounts even mention it. Only 2 primary sources recount the first Thanksgiving feast, and they're both from the settler's perspective. The first account came from Edward Winslow, one of the founders of Plymouth Colony, who wrote about it in December 1621. The only other account was by Plymouth Colony Governor William Bradford, who wrote about it in Of Plymouth Plantation at least a decade after it happened. Both of these accounts were quite short, not much longer than a paragraph. While the celebration of a bountiful harvest wasn't exactly a new concept, the tradition of practicing gratitude on Thanksgiving caught on and has persisted to this day. However, the real history of Thanksgiving remains largely in the shadows. It is commonly believed that after the Pilgrims arrived in the New World, they were immediately embraced by the local indigenous people, but that's not entirely true. The myth of the first Thanksgiving has been stripped of its political realities, propagating the misperception that Native Americans just willingly give up their land to the colonists. In reality, the Wampanoags had a history several thousands of years old before the English arrived. That history shaped who they were, how they responded to other people, their connections to the land, and fundamentally shaped the history of English colonization and Indian response in southern New England. The history includes intertribal politics, particularly between the Wampanoag tribe and their rivals, the Narragansett tribe, and it also involves the natives' previous experiences with the Europeans. By the time the Pilgrims had arrived, the local indigenous Americans had already been in contact with Europeans for about a century, and this contact often involved the indigenous people being kidnapped by whites and sold into slavery. So when the Pilgrims showed up, the Wampanoag tribe was reasonably weary of the newcomers. The feeling was mutual, especially since the Wampanoag people outnumbered the Pilgrims by several fold. But despite the concerns on both sides, they were undeniable benefits of an alliance. After all, the only way the Pilgrims were going to survive on this foreign land was to forge a relationship with the natives who could offer them supplies and protection. Likewise, the Wampanoag tribe would benefit from the trade and military alliance with the English settlers, which could help protect them from their rivals. There is also the persistent myth that the Pilgrims extended a warm invitation to the Wampanoag tribe to share the feast. But some experts believe that the Native Americans weren't invited at all, and instead only showed up when they came to investigate after the Pilgrims fired warning shots in their direction. Others think that the Wampanoag chief Massasoit brought his men to visit the settlers on a diplomatic round and happened upon the feast by coincidence. As for the feast itself, many myths about that have also been spread among the American public. Most Thanksgiving paintings depict several pilgrims with just a few Native Americans. But the real history of Thanksgiving shows that the Pilgrims were actually outnumbered about 2 to 1 by their indigenous guests. The Native Americans also brought most of the food for the meal, and the menu was quite different than the traditional Thanksgiving dishes we eat today. Instead of turkey and pumpkin pie, they probably ate venison and shellfish. There were definitely no mashed potatoes since this crop wasn't available in the area yet. While cranberries may have been included, they were likely used as tart garnish rather than a sweet sauce. And since they likely had a limited supply of beer, they probably just washed the food down with water. 400 years since the so-called first Thanksgiving took place, Thanksgiving has become one of the most celebrated holidays in the U.S. But it's hard to ignore the harmful consequences that the myth of the first Thanksgiving has had, especially on Native American communities. The mythical story behind the holiday has led to a misrepresentation of the relationship between Native Americans and the Pilgrims, which some assume was totally harmonious. In reality, their fraught alliance was marred by colonial land expansion, the spread of European disease, and the exploitation of indigenous resources. Before long, tensions erupted into a bloody war. On top of that, the fairy tale story depicts indigenous Americans as being exotic, despite the fact that they were on the land long before the Pilgrims. Myths about Native Americans are also fueled by the long-standing tradition of young students dressing up as pilgrims and indigenous people, often decked out in erroneous costumes and flamboyant headgear. When non-Native Americans talk about Thanksgiving, little is mentioned about what happened afterwards. In the 1630s, the Pequot War erupted between the Pequot people and the English settlers, who were allied with other Native Americans. By 1643, the colonies Plymouth, Massachusetts Bay, Connecticut, and New Haven had formed a military alliance. In the following years, this New England Confederation would fight against several native tribes, including the Wampanoag. However, there were a couple of tribes that remained allied with the English during this time, such as the Mohegan and Mohawk tribes. And by the 1670s, a major battle erupted between the Native Americans and the settlers all over New England. This would later be known as King Philip's War, the Native Americans' last-ditch effort to avoid recognizing English authority and stop English settlement on their land. However, settler violence persisted in America and continued well after the United States gained its independence. Ironically enough, some who had heard a bit about the violent history assumed that Native Americans no longer exist. In reality, there are 574 federally recognized tribes with thriving cultures in the United States today, and there are still Wampanoag people in Massachusetts. Lack of awareness about the origins of Thanksgiving have severe consequences when it comes to how Americans understand their past. In short, whitewashing the true relationship between the natives and the settlers glosses over the horrific violence against indigenous tribes, which lasted for centuries. It wasn't until the 1960s that some non-native people began to rethink the way they viewed the history of indigenous Americans. Around the same time as the Black Civil Rights Movement, Native activists worked tirelessly to make their voices heard as well. They wanted non-Native people to learn the largely forgotten history of colonial violence against them, which continued to impact their communities, even till today.
the extra sound effects and the There's no need for that, man. It just don't. I don't know, bro. You gotta put the song in the chat, cause you ain't got no clout, bro. You ain't got no clout. They don't know you out here. They don't know you. So when I'm trying to look for you, they can't find you. I gotta play the Birds remix, even though I ain't gonna be able to hear it. Let's play Word of Mouth, Bird. Damn, fly, dude. Yeah, y'all, we yapped out today. But hey, I'm gonna get back on. I'm gonna get a new computer. I'm gonna figure out a way to buy a new computer tomorrow. Y'all tap in with me. Let me see if anybody out there saying anything before I just yap off like this. I got about 45 minutes left of free time. Blake.
Too legit. When we could be superstars, we've been rather wrecking car. What is that stage for us? Lights out. Yeah, we could be superstars. So the pressure time is up. So we fell off the spinning tops. Now go baby,
I say you my bitch, then you my bitch. Nobody gon' play with you. I kill him, I kill all them niggas she started with. And said mamas come up missing. Where your daddy live, we need revenge. Get out and handle our business. Don't be stunning or bragging or like. Yeah, you know them niggas be snitching. My homie True be wildin'. Any killing, can't keep the bitch, got mileage. But I still hit it, can't take one to the islands. That's how we livin', 150 or less, and I paid attention. Can't believe what they say, cause them niggas be fishing. They need a leg, can't get in no bites. I was in China eating on rice. Do what I want, I do what I like. Think I'm a star and they look at my ice. I'm in the car, the shooters on bikes. We want it all, like give me your life. I keep it strapped just like a dyke. I keep it strapped just like a dyke. I say you my bitch, then act like my bitch. Don't be giving attention to none of these niggas. I go to jail like Kevin Gates. Don't do me like Drika did him. Out of the country, we were greedy. And I had her on ill admission. Streets and really fucked the fine up. Yeah, she say I'm